guys, it's Bella from Bella's Custom Crochets, and today I'm going to show you how to work the mini bean stitch. It's a lovely alternating slanted textured stitch that is typically only worked flat to achieve that alternating slant, but I have a simple little hack that is going to allow you to work it in the round. It's the stitch that I use in my One Skein Wonder Cowl patterns, but I'm going to give you everything you need to know today to work it either in my patterns or on your own. So to get started, we're going to be using some, just for demonstration, I'm using a bulky 5-weight yarn and a L 9mm crochet hook. But that's not what's called for in the pattern. I'm just doing it so you can see it a little bit larger and get all the details. Let's get started. To begin working your mini bean stitches flat, you're going to need to chain a multiple of 2 plus 1. So ultimately, I'm going to be showing you how to work over 12 stitches, which will give us 6 mini beans. So I'm going to chain 13 to start out. 12 plus 1. And 13. To begin working the mini bean stitch, we're going to work into the 3rd chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, this guy here. And you're going to insert your hook, yarn over, and pull up a loop, just like you were doing a regular old single crochet. So you have 2 loops on your hook. Then we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into that same chain space, like you were doing a half double or double crochet, yarn over, and pull up another loop. That'll give us a total of 4 on our hook. Then we'll yarn over once more and pull through all 4 of them to create our first mini bean. Then we're going to chain 1 in between each one of those mini bean stitches. Then we're going to skip the next chain space and repeat our mini bean stitch into the following chain. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over again, insert your hook into the same chain space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 4 to close your mini bean, and then chain 1. Do it again one more time for you. So we skip the next chain and mini bean into the following chain. 2 loops on the hook, yarn over again, insert to the same, yarn over, 4 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 4, and then chain 1. I'm going to continue my way across the row and I will meet you at the end. So we complete our final mini bean in that last space, which will give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mini beans across our row of 12 stitches. Then we're going to chain 2. I've seen some variations where you only chain 1, but I like the look of a chain 2. And then we're going to turn our work, because we are working our flat mini bean stitch. Now where we're going to work all of the mini beans from here on out is into this almost triangular space that is created by the beginning of the mini bean from the previous round. So this little spot here, when we flip it over, we're going to be working into there. So we've done our chain 2, and then we're going to continue just mini beaning across. So insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over again, insert into that same little triangular spot, yarn over, pull up a loop, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 4 for another mini bean. And then once again we'll chain 1. You can't really tell just yet, but the mini beans are going to begin alternating slanting every row. So those ones were slanting this way and those ones are going to slant this way, if that makes any sense. You'll see as we get a little further along. Now we're going to mini bean into here again. Chain 1. And we're just going to work across the whole row into that little spot created by the space between the mini bean stitch. Thought this yarn bowl was going to be helpful. As it turns out, it's not. Just mini bean stitching, chaining in between each one across our row. Mini bean into that final stitch. You can kind of see the slant forming. So we're going to chain 2 again and turn. And we're just going to continue alternating that A row, B row format, creating the nice slant of the mini bean stitches. So we'll do one more, still working into that triangular space at the side of the mini bean stitch. Just going to go a little bit faster here so we can get to the end of the row. And here we are. So if you just keep working in that format, you're going to get a nice alternating slanting mini bean stitch. Now because that slant is usually achieved by the way that we've been flipping back and forth, if you were to work the stitch in the round as normal, they would all just keep slanting the same direction, which might look cool, but it wouldn't be the mini bean stitch as we know it. So I'm going to show you a quick little hack on how you can work the exact same stitch, but work it in the round so you're not going to have to seam anything. It is going to create a teeny tiny little seam. I don't know if you can see right here. It's very subtle, blends right in. Not going to bother anybody. Again, this is my One Skein Wonder Cowl, but you can adjust this to work. You could work it in hats, like a cup cozy. You could work it, if you wanted to get really fancy, with math and a sweater, any pattern where you're going to be working in the round instead of back and forth flat. So now I'm going to take out a little swatch and show you how to hack it into a stitch you can work in the round. So here I've just worked up a little swatch of ribbing to mimic the ribbing that you'd be working into from the bottom of the cowl, working up. But if you're not working my cowl pattern, you can apply this. You would just be working either into a starting chain or stitches that you previously had worked. This little swatch here was 24 stitches around, so that is going to give us 12 mini bean stitches in the round. So the first row is going to look familiar. It's going to be just like we worked flat. So we're going to chain 2 off of here, and then we're going to insert our hook into the same spot. The chain 2 does not count as a stitch throughout. And we're going to work our mini bean just like we did at the start of the flat swatch, where we chain 1, skip the next stitch, and work into the following stitch. Skip the next, work into the following. Now I'm just going to work my way around, and just like before, you should end up with an amount of mini bean stitches that is half the amount of stitches that you have total. So I'm working into 24 stitches. I should end up with 12 mini bean stitches. I'll meet you on the other side. So now, before I start showing you how to hack this stitch into something you can work in the round, I do want to mention it is helpful, not necessary, but helpful, to clip a removable stitch marker or progress keeper onto the right side of your project, just to mark what the right side is. It doesn't really matter where you put it. We're not like counting stitches or anything. It's just a marker so you know what side is the right side versus the wrong side. I usually just put it at the beginning of the round. Doesn't matter. And if you don't have a stitch marker, you could just easily loop a piece of different colored yarn or even something like a paper clip or safety pin onto your right side. So now we're going to chain 2, and instead of continuing to work the same direction in the round like you typically would, moving clockwise, we're going to flip our work. So now we're looking at the inside or wrong side of the cowl or whatever piece that you're working on. And we're going to continue working the mini bean stitch just like we were before, but moving in the opposite direction. So now we're moving counterclockwise, looking at the wrong side. Just like before, we're going to do our mini bean stitches into that little triangle space created at the side of the mini bean stitch at the end of that row. Insert. Just like before. And then we're going to chain 1 in between and just work our way around in that same little space. And you just want to make sure you end up with the same amount of mini bean stitches. I had 12, so at the end of this round I should still have 12. I will check back with you when I get there. Alright, so I'm going to work my final mini bean stitch of that round. do my chain 1, and then I'm just going to slip stitch again into that starting chain 2 right there. And then chain 2 again, and turn back to the right side. And now we're just going to keep alternating back and forth A row and B row, working clockwise on the right side, turning and working counterclockwise on the inside or wrong side. And that will give you the beautiful slanting mini beans without having to do any seaming. So I'm just going to work one more right side row just to show you one more final time. Starting in that space there, we just mini bean stitch our way around, chaining in between each one. Chain 1 and slip stitch to join into that chain 2 that we started with, and you're just going to keep alternating back and forth from right side and wrong side to achieve your slanting mini bean stitch. And there you have it, guys. That is how you can easily work the mini bean stitch, both flat in rows and easily hack it into a stitch you can work in the round. If you liked this video, you can subscribe to my channel for more tutorials and crochet content, or you can check out my blog for a photo tutorial for both of these stitch techniques and more. Thanks for watching. Happy making!